We've got a bombshell ruling from Judge Engoron in Trump's civil fraud case in New York. He's been ordered to pay a staggering $355 million, which threatens to wipe out any liquid cash that Trump might still have. Engoron also imposed the punishment that Trump would contend with a 3-year ban from serving on top roles in any New York company, including his own at the Trump Organization. And he ordered that Trump's sons, Don Jr. and Eric, would pay more than $4 million each. According to the New York Times, Mr. Trump will appeal the financial penalty, which could climb to $400 million or more once interest is added, but will have to either come up with the money or secure a bond within 30 days. The ruling will not render him bankrupt because most of his wealth is tied up in real estate. In other words, Trump will have to figure out a way to either find someone to back a bond for a guy who seems like a massive financial liability and who already owes E. Jean Carroll $83 million plus another $5 million plus interest and may very well lose 91 felony charges in his upcoming trials, or Donald Trump will have to put up the money himself, if he even has it. And not to bury the lead, but here's another brutal aspect of this ruling for Trump. Judge Engoron also extended for 3 years the appointment of an independent monitor whose job is to watch the Trump Organization and ensure that no fraud takes place, which clearly was not something that Donald Trump or his kids were capable of doing up to this point. Hence the massive $355 million fraud ruling. Trump seems to be particularly irked at the presence of the monitor, who he's claimed has already cost his business more than $2.5 million. Although it sure is telling about the kind of business you're running when the appointment of a monitor simply to ensure that there is no fraud suddenly begins costing your business money. If you were wondering what kind of activities Trump and his kids were engaging in the first place, the fact that a set of eyes and ears for the court is hurting their finances should tell you everything you need to know. Trump will almost certainly ask the appeals court to issue a stay on the payment and the rest of the penalty so that he won't have to contend with those punishments now, knowing full well that an appeal could take years. I did ask Glenn Kirshner about the process in a previous episode of The Legal Breakdown before this ruling was handed down, and here's what he had to say. Could that be stayed pending the appeal, or could Judge Engoron rule that he has to pay it and that he does have the right to appeal, but that's not going to impact his ability or impact the ruling that he should be paying this money right now?
Yeah, first of all, I'm not an expert on New York civil procedure or, frankly, civil procedure in any of the 50 states, but let me give you an idea of generally how it works. Ordinarily, judges will put a stay in place pending appeal, such that money damages that have been awarded either by a jury or, like in this case, by the judge, would basically be put on hold while the case works its way through the appellate process. However, there are a couple of other ways to deal with it. A judge could deny to put a stay in place and could say, listen, you can appeal to the appellate court for a stay, but I am ordering this money judgment executed. Or what I think is a middle ground, and I think what we're likely to see happen here, Donald Trump will have to put up a money bond, sort of a surety to guarantee that he will have the money to satisfy the judgment that's been awarded against him at the end of the appellate process, assuming he loses the appeal. So I have a feeling that's probably the middle ground that Judge Engoron might choose in a case like this.
But aside from his finances, there's also the political implications for this case. Throughout the entirety of this trial, Donald Trump knew that he couldn't win because he had no defense, but still he showed up on an almost daily basis to deliver screeds like this one.
We have no rights whatsoever. Any company coming to New York would be crazy because it's a setup. It's a rigged trial. We have a hostile group of people. We have a very hostile judge. I hate to say it. We have a very, very hostile judge. And I think everybody knows that, and we see that. But the good thing is we have all of the evidence on our side. They have nothing. And it's a case that should have never been brought. I just read many, many articles saying this case is a disgrace to our nation. And I think it's a disgrace to our country. And somebody has to fight, because if you don't fight, our country's just going to go down the tubes. This is election interference. This guy's a highly partisan person, and we can't let this stuff happen. So you should ask yourselves as professionals, I have a lot of respect for you, not all of you, but a lot of you. Why is it that he didn't honor the decision of the appellate? And by the way, I believe it was a unanimous decision, right? It's a 5-0 decision, unanimous decision. And he said, I'm not going to honor it. Let's go to trial. There's a judge that should be disbarred. This is a judge that should be out of office. This is a judge that some people say could be charged criminally for what he's doing. He's interfering with an election, and it's a disgrace. Thank you very much.
Mr. Trump, why do you want to be here in person today?
Because I want to watch this witch hunt myself. I've been going through a witch hunt for years, but this is really now getting dirty between Jack Smith and between all of these DOJ people helping them along. This is a pure witch hunt for purposes of interfering with the elections of the United States of America. It's totally illegal. This judge should be disbarred. He shouldn't be allowed to be a judge.
And of course, everything he's saying is abject nonsense, but the real reason that he showed up is because presenting himself as a victim at the hands of the big evil deep state is a campaign strategy. He knows that all of these prosecutions are going to take him down, so his only option here, since he won't actually be able to win anything in court, is to undermine them in the court of public opinion. He doesn't want to lose support from the public, and he knows the risks that come with these trials, so he needs to make sure to undermine confidence in the entire court system. It's a plan as insidious as it is irresponsible. And by the way, the electoral danger for Trump at the hands of the legal system is well documented. After the Iowa caucus, an NBC News entrance poll asked voters, if convicted, would Trump be fit to be president? And of course, 64% said yes, because it's a cult of personality, but 31% said no. That is 31% of Iowa Republican caucus goers saying that Trump being convicted would be disqualifying. In New Hampshire, a similar story. An NBC News exit poll asked respondents the same question. 42% of them said no. And look, not that I can predict the future, but the dude is contending with 4 prosecutions and 91 criminal charges. He's gonna be convicted. And if even half of those 31% of voters in Iowa or 41% of voters in New Hampshire defects back to Trump, that would still leave a massive, massive exodus of Republican voters who would view Donald Trump as unfit to serve, and that is just within his own party. And look, will a number of those Republicans come home to Trump if he does become the eventual nominee? Of course. But these aren't small amounts of people who are saying that being convicted is a red line for them. And considering these races are won on the margins by 10 or 20 or 30,000 votes per state, Donald Trump is in for a rude awakening with his own party, much less picking off any independents or Democrats. So another big win for justice today, but remember that this is only the beginning. Trump still has trials in Washington, D.C., in Florida, in Georgia, and in Manhattan starting this March. If he thinks things are rough now, something tells me that he's going to yearn for the quaint days when he only had to worry about a $355 million payment for business fraud. Before you go, I need some help. Please subscribe to the channel and do your part to help grow the progressive media ecosystem. I don't do sponsorships or paid ads, I won't ask for money, but just subscribing to this channel goes a really long way, and it helps get the message out to more people. The subscribe button is right here on the screen. You can also subscribe to my Spanish language channel, which I made to reach those crucial Spanish-speaking voters. That link is on the screen too. And finally, if you want to listen to my audio podcast, you can follow that link as well. Thanks so much for watching.